Hey there, Twisters. So with the 2023 NHL draft happening tomorrow, I thought it'd be fun to reflect on every NHL team's greatest draft steal in recent history. So we're going to stretch it all the way back to 2010 as the cutoff point here, and we're going to look at the greatest value that an NHL team was able to get with some of these amazing selections. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Who's your favorite NHL team's greatest draft steal of all time? For me, for my Sharks, it'd probably be like Joe Pavelski or Yevgeny Nabokov. But we're going to start with 2010 onward because a lot of those players are still in the NHL. And these are guys who had to have contributed to the team that drafted them. Very important. So somebody like William Karlsson or Shea Theodore, those guys were drafted by the Anaheim Ducks. They wouldn't be on this list because they never really played for Anaheim. So we're going in alphabetical order here, and we start with the Anaheim Ducks, and we've got Troy Terry. So he was selected in the 5th round, 148th overall in 2015. That's pretty good for somebody who's been a part of 2 All-Star teams. He's played in 274 games, 75 goals, 101 assists for 176 points. Those numbers will definitely go up. He's headed into the prime of his career, and he's going to have some great young talent around him for years to come. Just a couple honorable mentions as well. Josh Manson at 160th overall, and Freddie Anderson at 87th overall. I believe he might have wanted Jennings with the Anaheim Ducks, but the body of his work comes mostly with Toronto and then afterwards with Carolina. All right, Arizona Coyotes are next, and I've got Connor Garland. He was selected 123rd overall in the 5th round of 2015, and I know that he only played 3 full seasons in Arizona, but his value really did rise pretty quickly in Arizona, and as a result of that, he was able to be dealt and then contribute even more for the Vancouver Canucks. So Connor Garland so far, 322 games played, 83 goals, 111 assists for 194 points. My honorable mention is somebody who's only played in 1 full season so far. That's Matias Maccelli, who was part of the Calder Trophy consideration this year. He was drafted 98th overall in 2019. For the Boston Bruins, I have David Pastrnak. He fell all the way to 25th in 2014. He's played in 592 games, already 301 goals, 316 assists for 617 points. He's won a Rocket Richard Trophy for the most goals in an NHL season. He was a Hart Trophy finalist this year. He's easily a future Hall of Famer. And you could definitely consider some other great picks from the Boston Bruins, like Charlie McAvoy fell all the way to 14th in 2016. Jeremy Swayman was 111th in 2017. For the Buffalo Sabres, I've got Linus Ullmark. He was drafted in the 6th round, 163rd overall in 2012. In 207 career games, he has a .919 save percentage, a 2.50 goals against average, and 6 shutouts. And of course, with the Bruins this year, he won the Vezina as the best goaltender in the NHL and the Jennings Trophy with Swayman for the fewest goals against. Now, Ullmark wasn't at that level with the Buffalo Sabres, but even so, given the state that the team was in at the time, he still played very well for them. I also want to call out Victor Olofsson as a good honorable mention. He was drafted 181st in 2014. For the Calgary Flames, I have Johnny Gaudreau. This was pretty easy. He was selected in the 4th round, 104th overall in 2011. He's appeared in 682 games, 231 goals, 452 assists for 683 points. So a point per game player. And certainly he did contribute many great years in Calgary before signing with the Blue Jackets. He's been a finalist for the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. He's finished 4th for the Hart Trophy, and he's won the Lady Byng Trophy for sportsmanship. And a couple of good honorable mentions. I have Andrew Mangiapane. He was selected 166th in 2015. Rasmus Andersson was 53rd in 2015. You could also say Matthew Tkachuk for falling all the way to 6th back in 2016. For the Carolina Hurricanes, this one is pretty easy. It was Jacob Slavin selected in the 4th round, 120th overall in 2012. Pretty good for maybe the best shutdown defender in the NHL. He's played in 584 games, 43 goals, 192 assists for 235 points, already a plus 130 on what was, at the start of his career, a pretty bad Carolina team. He's finished as high as 5th for the Norris, where he should be just about every year. He's also won the Lady Byng for sportsmanship. Also, a couple of great honorable mentions here. Sebastian Aho drafted 35th overall in 2015, and Brett Pesce 66th overall in 2013. For the Chicago Blackhawks, I had to go with Alex DeBrincat here. He was selected in the 2nd round, 39th overall in 2016. That's pretty darn low for somebody to fall when they score 40 goals already twice in their young career. He's played in 450 games, 187 goals, 186 assists for 373 points. A couple of honorable mentions. I've always liked Vinny Hinostroza, 169th overall in 2012. Andrew Shaw had some good years in Chicago, let's be honest, 139th in 2011. For the Colorado Avalanche, I couldn't find that steal later on in the draft, but for Mikko Rantanen to be drafted 10th overall in 2015, I think that could kind of count here. It was a solid draft group, but he was easily the best player available when you look at the players that were selected just underneath him. He's played 490 games, 220 goals, 293 assists for 513 points. And as the Avs have been pretty banged up over the past couple of years, he really has carried the team in large stretches. He's been an All-Star twice. He's won a Stanley Cup, of course. He's likely a future Hall of Famer. And I guess here my honorable mention could be Cale Makar, considering he was drafted 4th overall in 2017 when he could have been 1st or 2nd. For the Columbus Blue Jackets, I've selected Vladislav Gavrikov, although now he's a member of the LA Kings. He was selected in the 6th round, 159th overall in 2015. He's played in 276 games, 18 goals, and 64 assists for 82 points, but he's become a top 4 defenseman in the NHL. He's getting better right now, entering the prime of his career, and certainly the Blue Jackets have had some other good picks when it comes to value in the later rounds, including Oliver Bjorkstrand, 89th overall in 2013, and Josh Anderson, now with the Canadiens, 95th overall in 2012. For the Dallas Stars, I chose Roope Hintz. He was selected 49th overall in the 2nd round of 2015, and right now he could be considered at least a top 10 center in the NHL. He's played in 312 games, 117 goals, 128 assists for 245 points, but those numbers only continue to skyrocket, especially with Jason Robertson playing on the top line. He led the playoffs in scoring this season, but certainly other players here could be considered as maybe the best steal for the Stars. John Klingberg, he had many great years as an offensive defenseman over there, 131st overall in 2010, Esa Lindell 74th in 2012, and Jason Robertson was 39th in 2017, but 49th was Hintz. All right, Detroit Red Wings. Again, some good value picks here. I went with a goaltender here. I went with Petr Mrazek. Now, Mrazek had really fallen off at the end of his career, and he was marred by injuries. But with the Red Wings, he was an excellent kind of backup goaltender, a 1B option for them. So anyway, I decided to pick him here because he was selected all the way in the 5th round, 141st overall in 2010, 334 games played, a .907 save percentage, a 2.76 goals against average, but his numbers were even better with Detroit. He was excellent with the Carolina Hurricanes as well. A couple of honorable mentions. I have Philip Hronek, 53rd overall in 2016, Tyler Bertuzzi, 58th in 2013, and Andreas Athanasiou was a 30-goal scorer. They got him 110th overall in 2012. For the Edmonton Oilers, I couldn't really find any good late-round draft steals, but I mean, there is an argument here that Leon Draisaitl is their greatest steal because he was selected 3rd overall in 2014, whereas Sam Reinhart, as good of a player as he is, he's not Draisaitl. He was selected just before him. So I decided to pick him here. Leon Draisaitl in 638 games has 306 goals, 438 assists for 744 points. He's won a Hart Trophy, an Art Ross Trophy for the most points in the NHL, a Pearson Award, or the Ted Lindsay, I should say, and he's a 3-time 50-goal scorer, and he's in the prime of his career, so he could do it again a couple more times. Florida Panthers, I went with Mackenzie Weegar, now for the Flames, but had several good seasons with the Panthers. He was drafted in the 7th round, 206th overall in 2013. He's played in 387 games, 31 goals, 121 assists for 152 points. He's finished as high as 8th in Norris Trophy voting for Florida, and their honorable mention here would be Vincent Trocheck. He was selected 64th overall in 2011. For the LA Kings, I've selected another defenseman, kind of like Gavrikov. I have Mikey Anderson. He was selected in the 4th round, 103rd overall in 2017, and he's become a mainstay on their top 4 group of defensemen. So 194 games so far for Mikey, just 9 goals and 31 assists, but the guy is physical. He's a shutdown defenseman, good compliment for somebody like Doughty. And a couple honorable mentions here. Got to call out Matt Roy, part of the defensive group, 194th overall in 2015. And Adrian Kempe, he was drafted in 29th at the end of the 1st round in 2014 for a guy who's scored over 30 goals a few times already and is in the prime of his career, so he could keep doing that. For the Minnesota Wild, it has to be Kirill Kaprizov, selected in the 5th round, 135th overall in 2015. He's played in 203 games, 114 goals, 120 assists for 234 points, so over a point per game. He won the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. He's finished as 7th for the Hart Trophy for MVP. A couple of good honorable mentions here. Jason Zucker, 59th overall in 2010, and Carson Soucy, who's been a good defenseman in a depth role, 137th overall in 2013. For the Montreal Canadiens, maybe some of you will say Cole Caulfield at 15th overall for his draft year, but I selected Brendan Gallagher. I mean, the guy was selected in the 5th round, 147th overall in 2010. So he's appeared in over 675 games. That's a lot for somebody drafted that late in the draft. 202 goals, 193 assists for 395 points. He's been a part of many, many playoff runs for them. He actually was a Calder Trophy runner-up, and he's been a veteran leader for this team for a number of years. So Caulfield was an honorable mention. Arturi Lehkonen, I thought about him because he was selected 55th in 2013, which would be a steal considering what he's been able to achieve, but more so with the Avalanche, I would say, than with the Montreal Canadiens. All right, Nashville Predators. This one's pretty easy. It's Jussi Saros, selected in the 4th round, 99th overall in 2013. He's played in 286 games, already a .919 save percentage, a 2.58 goals against average, and 20 shutouts. He's finished as a finalist for the Vezina, probably not the last time in his career. Couple of good honorable mentions here. Victor Arvidsson, 112th overall in 2014, and Alexander Carrier, 115th in 2015. New Jersey Devils. This is somebody who continues to get better and better and better. It's Jesper Bratt, 6th round, 162nd overall in 2016. He's played in 389 games, 102 goals, 174 assists for 276 points, but that point per game gap is something he continues to close on a year-by-year basis as one of the main play drivers for the New Jersey Devils. A couple of good honorable mentions. I am a fan of Yegor Sharangovich, 141st in 2018. Miles Wood was pick number 100 in 2013. Damon Severson, now a Columbus Blue Jacket, 60th in 2012, and Blake Coleman was 75th in 2011. All right, New York Islanders. We go to another goaltender here. It's Ilya Sorokin. This one's pretty easy. He's played in 136 games, a .924 save percentage, 2.34 goals against average, and 16 shutouts. He could easily be on his way to a Hall of Fame career over there. He's been a Vezina finalist, and he led the NHL with 6 shutouts last year. Honorable mentions, Devon Toews, especially if you bundle in what he's done with the Avalanche, 108th overall in 2014 for one of the game's best all-around defenders, and Adam Pelech was selected 65th overall in 2012. All right, so we already mentioned Sorokin. Now let's go to another New York team, the Rangers. It's got to be Igor Shesterkin, selected all the way down 118th overall in the 4th round of 2014, 158 games, .924 save percentage, 2.37 goals against average, basically identical to Sorokin, and 11 shutouts. He's won the Vezina as the best goaltender in the NHL, and he's also been a finalist for the MVP. That's pretty nuts for a goaltender. Couple honorable mentions here, especially bundling in what he did in St. Louis. Pavel Buchnevich, 75th in 2013, and Jesper Fast had several productive years with the New York Rangers, 157th overall in 2010. For the Ottawa Senators, here it's got to be Mark Stone, and I know he's achieved even more with the Golden Knights, but even so, before then with the Senators, he was a key contributor. So, in 584 games, Stone has scored 196 goals, 318 assists for 514 points. Of course, he went on to become the Knights captain, win a Stanley Cup. He's been a Selke Trophy finalist as a winger 4 times. That's remarkable. He's got to be a future Hall of Famer out there. A couple honorable mentions. I mean, Drake Batherson at 121st in 2017 is no slouch. And JG Pageau, 96th overall in 2011, has done some good things later in his career, especially with the Islanders. Now for the Philadelphia Flyers, I have Shane Gostisbehere, selected in the 3rd round, 78th overall in 2012. He's played in 538 games, 87 goals, 224 assists for 311 points. He's finished top 10 in Norris Trophy voting before, and he was in his prime one of the best offensive defensemen in the NHL, and he's done a good job resurrecting his career with the Coyotes and with the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll see what happens from here. All right, honorable mentions, Noah Cates, 137th in 2017. Oscar Lindblom, 138th in 2014. You could say maybe Konechny sliding all the way down to 24th in 2015. Now for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I've selected Jake Gensel. He was drafted in the 3rd round, 77th overall in 2013. In 453 games, 197 goals, 217 assists for 414 points. He's already scored 40 goals on 2 separate occasions. And in that 2017 Cup run, he was magnificent. He led the team with 13 goals in his very young NHL career. A couple of honorable mentions. First of all, Brian Rust, 80th overall in 2010. And even though his career was a little short in Pittsburgh, Matt Murray did win those 2 Stanley Cups in his first 2 years, 83rd overall in 2012. For my San Jose Sharks, really, we didn't draft all that well in the 2010s, except for like Hertl and Meyer. Those were slam dunk picks, though. But I've selected Kevin Labanc. He was drafted in the 6th round, 171st overall in 2014, and he's been a constant contributor in our middle six. So 432 games, 80 goals, 136 assists for 216 points. So a point every other game. Of course, we can't forget what he did in 2019 on that power play against the Golden Knights in Game 7. He had 3 assists, and then he scored a goal to put the Sharks ahead at that time. So we got to show him some love there. Couple of honorable mentions. I have Noah Gregor, 111th overall in 2016. Dylan DeMello, more so for what he's done later in his career, especially with the Jets, 179th overall in 2011. Now, the Seattle Kraken have only had Matty Beniers and Shane Wright play NHL games. Ty Cartier has played a couple playoff games, so I really can't count them here. All right, moving on to the next team. It's the St. Louis Blues, and I've selected Colton Parayko. I know he hasn't exactly been the best over the past couple years, but before that, he was a very strong two-way defenseman, especially in his own zone. He was drafted in the 3rd round, 86th overall in 2012. 577 career games, 51 goals, 182 assists for 233 points. Couple honorable mentions. Jordan Binnington, 88th overall in 2011. He did, of course, help them win that cup. Nico Mikkola, 127th overall in 2015. You could make a case, I suppose, for Vince Dunn, 56th in 2015, but it's more about what he's done with Seattle recently. Jordan Kyrou was 35th overall in 2016. The Tampa Bay Lightning have been incredible when it comes to finding value later in the draft or finding players who should have been drafted way ahead of where they ended up. So with this one, I went with Andre Palat. He was selected in the 7th round, 208th in 2011. He's played in 677 games, which is probably more than just about any 7th rounder, barring a few names out there. 151 goals, 295 assists for 446 points. Of course, he's won 2 Stanley Cups with Tampa. He was also there for the 2 other finals appearances. He always shows up in the playoffs as well, especially in 2022. But we have to look at these honorable mentions as well. Braden Point, 79th overall in 2014. Nikita Kucherov, 58th in 2011. And these guys are future Hall of Famers. Anthony Cirelli, an amazing defensive forward, 72nd overall in 2015. Ross Colton, 118th in 2016. And Andrei Vasilevsky, you can maybe make the argument for him. He was selected 19th overall. Not all goaltenders are selected in the 1st round, but I mean, considering what he's done in his career, that is a bit of a steal. For the Toronto Maple Leafs, I couldn't really find a good steal out there for them, but I went with Connor Brown. He was selected in the 6th round, 156th overall in 2012. He's been more productive with the Ottawa Senators, but he did have a 20-goal season with Toronto, 448 games played, 90 goals, 126 assists for 216 points in his career. And a couple honorable mentions here. Andreas Janssen, 202nd overall in 2013, and Pierre Engvall, 188th overall in 2014. For the Vancouver Canucks, I couldn't really find that later round steal, but I went with Quinn Hughes because he should have been drafted ahead of these players. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Barrett Hayton, and Philip Zadina. They all went before him in the 1st round, and Quinn Hughes fell all the way to 7th. In 283 games, 26 goals, 215 assists for 241 points, nearly a point per game player as a young defenseman out there. He was part of the all-rookie team. He finished 2nd for the Calder, and a lot of Canucks fans think that he should be in that Norris Trophy conversation these days. My honorable mention is Thatcher Demko, although it's really not much of a qualifier here considering that's an early 2nd round pick, 36th overall in 2014. For the Vegas Golden Knights, there really isn't all that glamorous of a pick here. I went with Pavel Dorofeyev. He's played in 20 games and he has 7 goals and 2 assists. Paul Cotter might be my honorable mention here, but they really haven't had that player come up through that prospect pool and make an impact at the NHL level with the Golden Knights specifically. Washington Capitals, I have Philip Grubauer. He was selected 112th overall in the 4th round of 2010, and although he was a Vezina finalist with the Avalanche and he's played later on with Seattle, he was still excellent as a member of the Washington Capitals. So in 308 career games, a .912 save percentage, a 2.55 goals against average, and 20 shutouts. And in those 6 years with the Capitals, he had a .923 save percentage, a 2.29 goals against average, and of course, he won a Stanley Cup with them. My honorable mention here would be Chandler Stevenson. He was drafted 77th in 2012. He's gone on to do better things with the Golden Knights, I would say. And lastly, for the Winnipeg Jets, this one's a no-brainer. It's Connor Hellebuyck, drafted in the 5th round, 130th overall in 2012. In 445 games, all with Winnipeg, a .916 save percentage, a 2.66 goals against average, and 32 shutouts. We'll see what happens with him in the offseason. He is a future Hall of Famer. He's been a Vezina Trophy winner and a 2-time finalist. A couple of honorable mentions here. 104th overall in 2013 was Andrew Kopp, and Mason Appleton was selected 168th in 2015. All right, guys, so what do you think of my picks here? Who is the greatest steal in your favorite team's history? And that doesn't have to be just 2010 onward. It can be even before that. Let me know in the comments down below, and let me know if you have any more ideas for fun video topics. Stick around. We're going to have more coverage throughout the NHL offseason in the form of all sorts of videos, and I hope to see you around for more of that. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you're new for more content like this, and I'll see you around for my next upload. I'm Nick, and I'll catch you Twisters later. Ciao for now.